Good morning, this is Jolene with AJeweldDesign, and it is Digital Reveal Day. Woohoo! I know it's been 2-3 weeks. Yeah, it feels like. Good Lord. I think it's been 3 weeks. Did not quite get to this as I expected, so I had a glitch. That's okay. Sometimes we need a break. I was really late on my videos last week after being so busy and doing so many things with you guys. But that's okay. It gave me time to design a new digital. I'm working on a paper pack to go right behind this. I've got some little ephemera pieces that are coming up the next week or two. And of course, as I mentioned in my Journal with Me's last week, we've got a month of retro journal with me, plan with me, design with me, create with me type ordeals going on. So we're going to start off today, the beginning of your week, or almost. It's Tuesday morning. It'll be Tuesday morning, but close enough. We're going to start off with my Shabby Vintage journal kit. And that's sew as an SEW, of course. And it's a little vintage. It's a little shabby. And I wanted to add flowers to it, but the more I added, I ended up the pinks and the greens and the antique-y coffee stains and taupes and creams. It just lent to both shabby and vintage, and of course sewing. So hence the name Sew Shabby Vintage, which of course the link to this journal kit in my Etsy shop will be down below in the descriptions for a quick, easy access. Otherwise, as usual in the description is my Etsy shop and my Facebook and my Instagram and all those things where you can find me. As it is, if you've been following me both here and on Instagram, this lady got her debut the past week or so. She got very much a lot of attention and was in the spotlight. As a teaser to my Instagram followers, they got to see the corners and the elements as we led up to this morning, hopefully enticing and teasing you all. But we're going to go through the kit today. The journal kit is 22 pages deep. We have 10 pages to work with, and we have 11 pages here, 10 here, and a bonus backing paper. So I think it's 22 total. There's a lot. There's a lot. It's a small kit for me now that I think about it. I've gotten to a point where I've headed into such a higher range. But I've decided that we're going to try to get back down into the low 20s. So you get your pages and you get some journal stuff and you get decorative and some printing. And then if something else comes from this, it's a separate purchase so that you can pick and choose the variations that work for you. And, so you don't want all of it. You can decide what works best for you. So, I am trying to fine tune it just a little bit so that we don't go overwhelming. It's not overwhelming and it's not always some big old large kit. And as you can tell, these pages are smaller than what's behind it because I did already trim it down for you guys. I'm going to put those to the side so you can see them nice and clean and all pretty, what they would look like. Now, I did have someone ask me about how to print digitals at one point and what would be the best way to do it and how we designed it. And everybody's different. So I'm going to tell you what I do. I do design my pages 8.5 by 11. And knowing that each printer is going to be doing something different, most of the time, especially the decorative sides, I would say have your printer go fit to print. That way, when it puts its white border around the edges, it's not cutting off it doesn't cut into any of your pages. Some printers, when you do actual size, it'll print the actual size, but your printer is going to automatically give it a white border. So it's going to cut in and trim off stuff. And you may not want to cut that little bit of design off. Unless you want to. You want to make that choice, right? So even today for me, I went ahead and did the fronts fit to print. But the backs, I went actual size. So hopefully that the ink would go a little bit beyond the front. So when I trimmed the front, the back didn't have any white. Because sometimes your printer, even though you do your best to put it back in, sort of the same way it came out, the margins will shift. So you can print it and that side looks great, but this side still has white. It's really weird. So it is hard to test it. No one wants to waste ink and try to figure it out. But I guess if you can't decide or don't want to waste the ink, I would always say fit to print. That way, all the pages are proportionate to each other. Even your ephemera fits within the pages because if the ephemera is fit to print and so as the page is fit to print, the ephemera won't be too large. If I make something a little bit bigger, it's not going to all of a sudden stick off the page because this had to shrink a little bit. So now there are ladies out there who are Europe and they have bigger papers in their printers to begin with. So you really need to keep an eye on the descriptions and the items of your Etsy shops and other places and see what they say. Whether it's letter, whether it's A4, which I believe is the European size, which is like 11 1/4 by 8 1/4. It's a really weird, like, slight shift from ours, just enough. So you will definitely want to do print to fit on those. You will have a little bit extra white, but you have you'll have all the imagery. Otherwise, if you just leave it be, it's going to definitely cut stuff off in weird places and leave you weird borders. And if you're going to do it, I'd rather make sure my borders are pretty even all the way around. But that's me personally. So I do create 8.5 by 11 letters since I'm here in the US. And my printer's that way, so it's really hard to show it to you guys if I can't print it right. So I am stuck with my little HP, which is 8.5 by 11. I don't even get the... I used to have an 8.5 by 14 capability. I don't even have that anymore. Sort of a bummer, because that was a lot of fun to use. So anyway, I digress, but someone had asked me, so I thought I'd just share real quick. But I did trim my pages so you can see them really pretty. I did print my backings on each one of them, so each one has a different backing. So we have taupes and creams and vintage colors. I did try to make my patterns this time a little bit more non-directional, so that everything was either right side up or upside down, and you could get away with it either way, just depended what you wanted. I think the big ones are technically upright, but if they happen to print upside down, it's not the end of the world. Like, you wouldn't really know the difference. Things are up and down both ways, so that was sort of fun. That was a new challenge for me this week. Page number 2. We do have both two different backgrounds. We have this sort of polka dotted vintage like fabric that has like tea and coffee dyes on it, somebody decided to use the fabric in a weird way, and I thought it was sort of fun for color. And then we have the old vintage pattern paper. It was an old pattern that was drawn up, and I don't know how old it is. It was in the vintage file that I had access to. And so I kept it light and cream, faded it out, whited it out, just had fun with it. So you had a little bit of a what do you want to call this? Like a coffee, a tea dyed backing, and they had more of a creamy background. So you have 2 pages of each with that background to give us some color dimension and variety. And these were fun because there's a lot of black and white images, and I either put paper behind them, I added layers, overlaid color on them, or just laid the flowers over them in different areas. Because I wanted more color, but I wanted to pick and choose where that color went. So pink and this sort of sagey greens sort of showed up everywhere if there wasn't some kind of antique-y look behind, like a card. Picked up the yellows in that too. These are fun, and everything. The fold is right here on the end, which is great. So you have that on that side, and you have measurements and hooks on that side. And then these were it's about 50% pulled back, so it's not 100%. And these are a bunch of ladies' blouse pins, and they were super decorative. And so I just blocked them out in different directions, and then of course duplicated them. And then these are directions, physical directions to the same pattern. This was the pattern, and so I went ahead and took some of the directions, and I actually clustered them in the background, upside down, right side up, big, large, and small, and put it for some texture in the background. So that was a lot of fun. And that one's totally, that has no rhyme or reason on the direction, which is awesome. And because I put some of the writing upside down and some of it right side up, again, it doesn't really matter which way you do it if you get caught. Back to this, again, was flipped around, and I added some layers to it. I actually took some of the logos from some of these vintage items and from a newsletter and put them washed into this tea-dyed background, and then added lace, which you don't know if you noticed that on all of them. This one had nothing. I didn't add any lace to this one, did I? No, this one was pretty... Oh, I added the ribbon. That's right. I added a ribbon to this one. This one has more of a ribbed ribbon on that one. And then this one has lace, and so does the next one. So we get our lace, we get our satin ribbons, we get our glossy ribbons, we get everything. And a lot of little cute cards and old thimbles, and there's even little dotted lines in here, like if you were sewing on it. A lot of little things, and it's really hard. You'll see it when you print it, but there is a sort of a semi-pink dotted line, sewing line on this one. I thought it was sort of cute. It's really hard sometimes though, because I see it on the screen and I'm like, oh, that's great, and I print it and go, oh, you really have to look for it if you don't see it. How funny is that? But I had a lot of fun adding the flowers in different clusters. The same flower set, and I reclustered it, I faded it, I changed directions, took it off things. I had fun just adding it to elements of the dresses just to give some more design and elements. So then there's this one. Now the other one was more wiry and more see-through. This one had more of the solid dress dummy bodies. And the only delay I have on this one is that the clusters, I should have, like every other diagonally, like in checkerboard, I should have flipped them around. So this is the only one that's a little bit more directional than I meant to have, because this is definitely obviously upright. And so if I had every other, you know, one flipped around, it would totally not be like a specifically directional pattern. But you have to have one in every group, right? It'll be interesting to see how you guys do. This definitely printed out a little bit more taupey than I expected. But it does give it another element, another layer and coloring to the group, which I thought was, you know, is still worthwhile. Oh, it's upside down. Bug. Okay, there we go. And the last one again, and we go back to the light colored one. We go to the lace that's just sort of blended in, and the ribbon, the bobbin. This was something we actually picked up at a thrift store and took a picture of, and so I thought it came out really cool. So we've adding, you know, physical layers of things. These were all scanned in, you know, and then layered over. This was scanned in and layered over. But then you have the vintage sketches, and you have the flowers, and you know, I thought it was a great combination of things in this kit where it wasn't just digital on top of digital on top of digital. I had some actual physical items that I could scan in and add in, and then of course do my graphics to it. But everything does fold nicely, so you do have sort of front and back, left and right, without any issues. And then this one is the 50% or less of the rose pattern. The rose is back on the paper, on the directions, the instructions, like we had with the pins, and it's really pale flowers behind it, so that you had something feminine to go with everything else. So it wasn't all just dark and drab and like grungy. So you have 4 fronts, 4 backings, or 4 decorative and 4 backings. And then you have 2 journal pages, where you have the side-by-side, either plain, where you can write yourself, or add your own lines, however you want to journal on these, or you have the ones that are lined. So that, you know, if you need more lines and it's easier for you to write something more specific, then you have it. It just depends on how you journal. You know, if you're more of a bullet journal, this was always awesome. You want to add little graphics, little sketches, drawings of your own. Depends what you're using this journal for, whether it is for sewing and your own personal recipes. Wrong one. Your own designs, your own sewing designs and sewing notes and instructions, then this might be a little easier to write on. If you're journaling more memories and moments where with your mom or your grandmother, great-grandmother, sisters, siblings, whatever, that you have a sewing or crafting nature, then you may want more storybook style and you want the lines. But each one's very different, where we have faded flowers in the corners. We have the clusters in the middle. So as you see, I did the Dexel edge, but I had to fold it to get that way. And I put a 100% bright floral pattern on the back of this one. So where you have it here at like, I think it's 30%, you also have it at full strength. So you can line things as you see fit and back things. And I thought it'd be sort of fun to have this on the back of the journal pages, since the flowers are very prominent or very featured, showcased on these just as much as anything else. And I thought it'd be fun because, I mean, you have journal pages where you got that, or you do this, and then in between you have a side to side. So it gave you some fun options. And then so there's the plain one, which I put more of the flowers in the corners, heavier on the right as usual, a little lighter on the left, to give you the space that you would need to do the proper journaling that you need. And for me, like I said, I continued on with that brighter roses on the back. So that is that. So this should be, see, 3, 4, and 4 is 8. Yeah, 11 pages. I'm like, so 11 papers and pages to work with. So 4 decorative, 4 backgrounds, 100% full strength background, and the 2 journaling pages. Right? So cute. And this, I have a feeling that if I do these, you know, I do something of my own nature for the sewing, I'm going to be printing these 2 pages a lot to really fill in between the decorative ones. And the nice thing is that when we do fold this, all of these pattern papers are going to be great backgrounds, and we'll play with that here in a moment, to all the ephemera. Because of course you have to have ephemera. We're not going to not have ephemera. I won't do that to you guys. And I did notice, now this one, I don't know if you can see it, yeah. I was playing around and I had to print something else on vellum for my kids. And so I took the rose background, Not with the wording, but just the roses, because I just had to grab a graphic real quick, and I threw it on vellum. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with it. So if I had it with, like, even like this light one, with the wording on it, this would make the best vellum. So definitely try these out. If you get this kit, try these out on vellum. Especially like the women's blouses. Like, I think the blouse pins would be so cool, and the roses with the wording behind it as a vellum sheet is another option to put inside your journal. Especially if you want a little bit more shabby, very feminine. These two on vellum, I think, are going to be absolutely adorable and super fun. So I know I have this little slip that will go in with my papers here, so that I can play with that somewhere within the book. So yeah, I'm definitely, when I go to make a journal, I'm going to have to make full sheets. And now the 10 pages of ephemera with, I just added in a Simply Distressed backing that if you want for some of these guys, it all depends on you. I put everything pretty much on white cardstock. I'm not one to super grunge things up or if I'm going to vintage it up, I'm going to distress it with ink. So I need to have something on the back. I don't print these things on coffee dyed or tea dyed paper for I don't have any. And at this time, and you know, sometimes that's too thin for a piece of ephemera, especially when we're talking envelopes and pockets and stuff. So I realized that none of these backgrounds were quite light enough to back this with. So I did give you guys a backing paper like I do with my mini file folder kits. So you had something to print on the back if necessary, or if needed, I should say. So we start off with my 2-pocketed stackable rectangle. I did flip it around this time. Usually I have A on the left and B on the right. And this design I put in there looked better on the right, so I just flipped them around. So you have sort of the bigger pocket off to the left side and the front decorative one to the right. So it just depends on what page you put it on. You still have a great opportunity to decide which way to go. We have our, I think it's considered sort of like a coin pocket, or just a thumbnail. Yeah, fold it backwards. Use the tabs to keep it all glued together. Or, you know, however you want to use it. I mean, it's there for potential. The fold lines are right here. It has its work. And it's like, here's now, ignore the lines. Hopefully you guys can't see them. And if you can, I'm so sorry. That's my printer. There are no lines on your pages. My printer's HP, for some reason, when you have a solid sort of massive color, we're getting lines no matter how hard I try. I think it's the difference between an inkjet and, say, a laser printer. A laser printer is a big toner, and it can, you know, I don't know, sweep bigger, but you can tell exactly where my headers come back and forth, and it doesn't matter how much I clean them. It's the more solid and darker the ink of paper, the more likely I have lines. So for me, it's more texture, right? For you, I promise it will not be there unless your printer does that. But I did not put lines in your papers is what I should be saying. So I did this light and easy. So if anything folded and it could be seen, I had a nice, you know, taupey cream like it matched to match this. We pulled some more color from this to back your necessary ephemera pieces where needed. So then I went ahead and gave you some lace pockets, a taller one with 3 and a slightly thinner one with multiple scallops with the lace. So normally I give you guys like a perfectly good square, and then I have like a square with a thumb notch, and I have one that's just somewhat scalloped, and I thought, well, shoot, that's scallops on the lace. We'll just make 2 of them. So you got a flag, you got a tab, you got a little piece of embellishment with some number measurements from a vintage kit I found. So you have these 2 glued down pockets, great for inside covers, and then you have a fold in half over the edge, over the paper edge lace tuck. I did these in the Retro Sweet Treats and all the fun fabricy waves that I created. And so I saw this, of course, and went, well, of course you have to have a fold over lace piece, which would be really fun, probably over this one. Cut that out. It'd be a nice contrast over this, over the edge. And then you could tuck, you know, one of the larger tags or whatnot into it. So I thought that would be a good piece to work with. Then you have a belly band in the roses. You have another embellishment. We have our 4 medium tags. And these were sort of cool because if you fold it correctly and distress, you know, with one of like a smoky gray or a nice dark taupe, even a charcoal, you could have a nice trifold, or I guess it's four-fold, quad-fold a standalone ephemera piece, or you have, you know, for beautiful pages where this you could fussy cut a bunch of fussy cuts and layer it up here. Do just a 2, make it more tag, double tag cards. Anyway, but you have your potential here, and I like it's every other. So you do have some variation in your thing. And again, I put it on the back, so you have, you know, you have the dark on dark, dark on light, plenty of potential for me. And you guys will just back it according to what you need or want if this doesn't work for you. But you do have the option. We did the large tags. This is the trifold. If you wanted it, you could trifold this. This was each one of the girls represented. I think I had just the 3 ladies that were sort of spotlighted within the pages. So I thought I'd give them each one their own tag. And then we have that ribbed ribbon as a washi tape, I guess. It's a little thin for a belly band. It would be great to add to the edge of a paper. And it's plenty long. It's 11 and it's not 11. So it's about 10 and a half. So you definitely have room to, you know, cut where you see fit. You know, if you do it right, maybe it goes to the bottom of a small tag, and it also goes on down the edge of something. So you sort of have some paper ribbon to play with. Again, I just backed it all with the same distress paper. You have 4 large journal cards. This time I went all horizontal on them. I just realized. Which I haven't done in a while. I've done most of them have been vertical. A lot of them have been vertical recently. So I went ahead and just shrunk the page down to 4 large journal cards. So you can, you know, add the fussies, layer them up, leave them as is, and just, you know, write on the back. I mean, they're pretty well decorated. So these two may be the only ones I could see putting a little something in the middle of them, a cluster of something in the middle of the journal card before you tucked it into the side of a page or into a pocket. Then I had some fun doing something a little more unusual. A lot of these vintage graphics that I found came sort of as their own advertisements. And so I just went ahead and used one of my, some of my distressed backgrounds and made them more into journal cards. We got large, we got small, we got sort of framed cards. So you can either trim, you know, gave you the feel of maybe a see-through window box, or you like the contrast of that white behind it before you put it on top of something that might have been a little darker. You know, if you really want that to pop off, it's a great way to, you know, great contrast. So you have another belly band. You've got some unusual cards just to help keep filling in the pockets, since there's always a lot of them. If we do it right, there's always a lot of pockets. And then you got a small scalloped envelope that your little cards do fit in. And anything smaller, I don't know if these will fit. I don't know. That little guy I think will fit. Yeah, this little guy will fit. And then maybe even, no, and even that one I think will fit. So some of the smaller cards, I think you signed up with 6 small cards, just a little off in their sizes, all fit in the small envelope. And these I thought would be fun. You can cut them horizontally, and you have these 2 that you can then fold and glue together. And the green will be on both be on the exact, you know, on the same end. So it makes an instantly backed, very decorative journal card. Not so much journaling, but a embellishment card, I guess. For top and bottom, you can do that. Or you do it this way. You could cut this way and do it, but you would have one upside down. So as you picked it up, you would flip it. But the green, of course, would go down one side. I'm even wondering if one of you guys are not crafty, you're all crafty enough, but are up to the challenge. I love to think if we folded here, trimmed here, or cut here, and folded here, if there's some cute folded thing. A lot of ladies lately have been doing all these, you know, 5, 6 panel things or 4 panel things, and they're cutting them and they're folding them, and, you know, they open up all interesting. So I can't wait to see what I can do with it in the coming months. But maybe there's some fun thing that, because I put them the way I did, something cute little ephemera piece can be created with them sort of together as one. Who knows, right? You'll have to play with it and let me know what you did with it. Otherwise, there are 4 beautiful little journal cards that I always have. Normally there's 6 up, but your other 2 are technically over here in a, you know, different format. But I thought those were fun, and of course I backed them all with the cream just to be on the safe side. Doesn't do much for that. It makes it sort of blah on the inside, but when you're done stuffing it, you really can't see much of it, at least on my end, you know, for me. Then you have a very large. I did the 4 flap envelope that does fit the larger journal cards that I showed you the 4 at. And I did give you light shadow, so it was easier to find the edges. And there's just a thin white line where you can help guide you with the folding. This is super pretty. Gives you, again, with the fussy cuts you'll see here in the end, you know, to add layers to, of course, the back of your card, and then you have the folds on all the flaps on the inside. Then you do get a belly band of you got the washi tape, and now you have your belly band of the ribbon. I just love the color. I thought it was a great accent and another way to, you know, add to it. Now this one, I personally took one of the backgrounds, actually, so the taupey light wiry one for the inside of this one, so there was some contrast to the envelope. That wasn't just blah. So this way, if you saw the flaps or if you made something else out of this, I would definitely suggest putting one of the backgrounds on this one to give you more playroom with it. And then there's the fussy cuts, right? We have to have fussy cuts. Especially on this, I felt that with all the pattern papers, you would want something to work off of, to play with. And that's the whole fun of a lot of these, right? Is having the little pieces. And so I went ahead and gave you, you know, anything that I clustered that I liked, anything that I could, maybe I couldn't really add the color there, I went ahead and add color here. And I did give that sort of kiss cut coloring behind all of it in that taupey cream, so that you guys could, you know, cut it as close as you needed to, and you didn't need to distress it, or you had the right tone to start with a base, but you didn't have the white. Where you didn't need to. And if you tried to get, if you had fun and you got in here, you had some room to play with. But some things are going to be white behind it. I wasn't going to put more color behind it, not knowing. But this is where you just add some distress ink to it if you wanted to, you know, wash it out. This is a really pale pink, and so depending on your printer will determine how pale or dark it comes out. And then we've got a lighter tone of the green in here. So the bobbin, you know, the thimble, the rulers. These were great. I'm assuming these are measurements for cutting 6'11", 4'6". They're part of a vintage kit. And I loved putting color behind them. In this case, I did the cool gold washi toned on one of the pages. You know, I did all that fun stuff. But I loved on the bustle how I started to put the flowers on the rump there, or the bustle of the dress dummies. So I don't know what it made me think of, but that's, well, Victorian dresses and their bustly, whatever. So this is sort of the larger sheet. You have the two sizes of here. You got the larger dress dummies, and I think even the larger sewing machine on this one. When here we have some of the smaller stuff. So we have the dress dummies and the ladies in their smaller size. You know, some things like the photos and, you know, these I went 2 sizes, so you had some things to play with. So some of the clusters, you know, that I came up with, the flower with the button cluster. This was sort of something I reclustered from the page it was on, stuff like that. You know, just little things to play with, and all, of course, plenty of extra flowers. In all in from the 1 to the 3 to the 2, and of course the cluster that you see on these guys. So I wanted to make sure you had more flowers. If you really wanted to shabby feminine up this, you had the flowers to play with. And again, they all have that little outline on them. Whether you run it through the Cricut, hopefully, or the Scan and Cut, hopefully it'll help because it'll have that outside color. I'm hoping it's dark enough. When you have black here, this is enough of a difference that it'll help you with that. I don't have either one of those yet to know for sure, but I'm trying to make sure you guys have something to work with, and I'm hoping it's going to make it easier for you. If nothing else, you'll be able to kiss cut even the cream and the taupe to keep the white off, and you know, it's still a really pretty effect that you don't have to do a lot of distressing with ink if necessary. So there we go. 2 pages of fussies. You have, you know, we have all the stackables, envelopes, you know, lace tucks and pockets. We have the 2 different size tags. We have belly bands and sort of a washi band if you want. We have the 4 large. Well, four standard large journal tags that I do. 2 others that are a little unusual in size. Then you have these 2 that are normally might consider my medium to small journal cards with these 4. Another small envelope, the large envelope, the pocket. We have a little bit of everything. I sort of pulled from my usual. I pulled some items from the like retro sweet treats and stuff because we had some really fun sizes and elements in that, and I really wanted to keep, you know, reintroduce those to you guys since I don't get a chance to always repeat everything. Let's see. Let's do... Oh, I like those too. So I'll give you some visuals here as we go along with all the fun. But yeah, definitely, if you get this kit, if it speaks to you, try some of the backgrounds on vellum, clear or cream. I think it's going to make a fun addition to the pages. You have plenty of the 2 journaling pages to print to your heart's content, which I definitely will do if I use this as something that I want to keep as a memory, sort of a keepsake memory thing within the sewing world. For my mother is a master seamstress, so was her mom. So there are plenty of memories and craft shows and lessons and all kinds of fun things that would be an awesome way to sort of, keepsake and memory my memories of my mom and my grandmother and my aunts and the things that we've done over the years. So here is my So Shabby Vintage kit available this morning on my Etsy shop, which that link is right below, as I said, in my description. Otherwise, my shop in general, there's a direct link, Facebook and Instagram. So as I continue to do things, there you always get the sneak peeks and the heads up on Instagram and Facebook, depending which you choose. They're pretty much exactly the same, which is great. And that's it, ladies and gents. This is my newest journal, and I hope you love it. For the shabby ladies out there, for my sewing ladies out there who haven't had a chance to do a sewing journal yet, hadn't found one that maybe spoke to them or it goes with one of the other kits that you've bought, I hope you'll consider it and take a look at it and possibly add it to your collection. And I hope you guys are having a great week, or will have a great week. It's still early, but this is the last week of May. We're coming into June before we know it. Those of you with kids know that we're coming up to summer vacation very quickly. And just the summertime, right? Vacations and outings, and hopefully everybody's healthy and happy. And getting together with those that we love as soon and as safely as we can. So thank you for joining me today here Tuesday on Digital Reveal Day. And we will see you definitely on Thursday for our first of many what? I don't know. What are we doing this Thursday? Oh, no. I don't know what we're doing this Thursday. Oh, no. I'll have to look into that. Oh, yeah, no, this Thursday is the final flip through of the Botanical Journal. So yeah, definitely check into that. You want to take a look at what I did, how I finished it. For that baby will hopefully be up for sale next week. So yeah, we're going to finish off May with the journal. What I did with it, how I finished it up with a teaser of potentially selling it. And then the following week we start June and we start the retro fun. So thank you for joining me. If you found me by accident, I hope you will subscribe and continue on with this journey with me. If you subscribed already, thank you for following and continuing to watch and commenting, which I do appreciate. And I really hope you enjoy these and you check them out and they speak to you and that they lead you to wonderful moments of creativity and journaling moments. And I will just see you guys on Thursday. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.